Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for making time to join us today. I know it's difficult with all of your various schedules and activities, especially with the school year just kicking off. We'll give just about another minute. I apologize for the late start. I'm working on some borrowed tech, so just wanted to make sure I had everything set up before I began the webinar here. All right, we will go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Natalie Shryak, and I'm the certifications manager for NALS. I will be your main point of contact for the ALP testing program this semester. So I look forward to working with you and your students for this really exciting and really important process for their education and hopefully for their future career. So if you don't know, NALS is the National Association for Legal Support Professionals. Our members and credential holders represent a wide range of positions, industries within the legal system. So whether they're working directly for a law firm or in-house counsel for a Fortune 500 company or a sole proprietor, there are all different kinds of ways, as you know, that someone can work in the legal system. Excuse me. We do have a mix of returning programs and some newer programs that are interested in getting involved. So I apologize if this is repeat information for those of you who did test with us previously, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page moving forward. So I will try to note any differences from the testing process last year in case that's helpful for you, but generally speaking, it will be the same process, but it's good to get a refresher since it's been a while. If you do have questions throughout the webinar, please put them in the Q&A section of your Zoom toolbar. I find that's easier to keep an eye on than the chat as we are going through the program. And feel free to ask questions anytime. If I'm addressing them later, I will let you know, but I'm always happy to take questions. All right. Here's just a quick overview of where we're going, kind of our goals for this meeting. Just provide a general overview of what the ALP is, talk about the partner program, resources that are available to you, reviewing the application process, reviewing the exam process itself, talking about scoring and results, and then touching on the retake process as well, and then questions and next steps for you. So the ALP stands for the Accredited Legal Professional. That is the designation that the students will earn upon passing the exam. So the credential is ALP. When we're talking about the exam, you may hear ALP Exam. That is what it stands for. It is one of 3 credentials that NALS offers, and this is designed for early career professionals who are looking to demonstrate preparedness for the legal field. So a way to set themselves apart, to demonstrate not only their competence, but kind of their commitment to the legal industry, showing that they are kind of a cut above. They know their stuff, they have the foundational terminology, they are able to operate in an office, and they are excited to continue their legal career. Students must have completed at least 80% of a business or legal course from your program before they are eligible to sit. So I mentioned this because I often get asked about the exam timing versus the end of coursework. As long as they've completed 80% of that course, of course, with the intent to finish the course, they are allowed to sit for the exam. So it does take some time for all the application materials to get in, for payment to be received, and for your exam date to get set. So you do not need to wait until that 80% mark to apply. That's just a kind of benchmark for you to understand where they should be in the program to be eligible. It is a 3-part multiple choice exam. It is computer-based. We do not offer any paper exams. We don't maintain paper exams. And it is 75 minutes per part. So the complete exam takes around 4 hours. If a student is retesting and only taking a certain number of parts, then obviously 75 minutes per part. The first time a student tests, they're going to take all 3 parts. If they need to retest on any parts, they only have to take the parts that they did not pass. So if they pass part 1, communications, they would resit for parts 2 and 3, but that part 1 is going to remain valid for 2 years. So as long as they complete parts 2 and 3 within the next 2 years of their original pass date, then they would be certified as an accredited legal professional through NALS. So that's a really nice benefit of the NALS program, is that they don't have to retake the entire exam. They can brush up on the sections that they struggled with and then move forward with retesting on that. And as a reminder, for scoring, candidates must achieve a 70% or higher per part to be certified. I apologize for my background if that's distracting. We have a nice sunny day in Indianapolis, and it's beautiful on the outside, but difficult to work with inside. Here is an overview of the exam parts themselves. So part 1 is communications. That is basic grammar, punctuation, spelling, use of numbers, alphabetization, etc. The subparts for each of the exams, kind of the actual details of what each topic includes, are covered in the resource manual, the certification resource manual. So I would encourage you to take a look at that to get a better idea of the kind of content that will be covered in each section, because they are pretty broad. Again, because this is a more intro-level certification designed for those entering or new to the career field, it is foundational. So it's designed to provide, terminology and kind of lay the foundation for their legal career. So looking at that certification resource manual can help you know how to prepare students and perhaps evaluate course materials you already have that may supplement the students' preparedness for the ALP. In addition to the certification resource manual, which covers all NALS credentials, so it has information on all 3 of our credentials, we have also created the ALP Program Handbook, and that's available on our website. And that pares down all of the information to only information about the ALP. So rather than sorting through a 30-page handbook, we've condensed that for you. You can use that kind of as your guide through this process. It's the same information, so we haven't changed anything. There's not special information that's not in the resource manual. It's just condensed to make it more user-friendly. And it also talks about some of the processes that we'll discuss later as far as applying, since that is different from the process that our individual candidates use. I'm pausing because we have a question. Is a digital copy of the presentation available for download? Yes, I will send my slides and a recording of today's session to you all after this with some links that were mentioned in it as well. Good question. All right, last year, our board of directors introduced our ALP Partner Program. We were very excited about this as a way to strengthen relationships with our schools that use the ALP and provide additional marketing and instructional benefits for them as they use the ALP in their program. So this was requested through questions about reporting and ways that they could recognize NALS being a partner testing with them, wanting to celebrate that their students work towards the ALP in programs. And so we have launched this program fall of 2021. And in our first year, we had 20 partners that were high school and college programs from across the country. So we were very excited and thankful for your support in that first year. It was very exciting to see that support and to be able to provide additional value to you. We know that your funds are tight, and so however we can help you demonstrate your program's quality and material, we absolutely are happy to do that. The partner rate is completely separate from exam fees or any resource fees. So you can kind of think of it like a membership in a sense. It is $250 per academic year, and we define that as August 1st through July 31st. So if you applied right now, you would be applying for the 22-23 school year. So that would run from whenever the day payment was processed and your application was approved through July 31st of 2023. So it does intended to run the school year so that you have benefits for your academic year as well. I'll include a link to the application in my wrap-up email. If you were a partner school last year, you should have received an email with an invoice. And if you need a quote or something different about your invoice, let me know, and I'm happy to modify that for you to meet your program needs. We want to make sure you have what you need so that your program can accept that and get you on your way. Here are some of the partner program benefits. As I mentioned, it's kind of that two-pronged marketing and then some instructional support. So we do provide a partner logo that you can use in marketing. I've seen those on websites, so program websites, or I know one instructor was able to use that. They were the lead legal teacher. They were able to use that in their email so that then as they're corresponding with other professionals and colleagues, they're seeing that they are a partner with NALS for the ALP. There's also various online recognition. There's annual program reporting. So rather than receiving results only per exam, at the end of the year, you'll receive a report on all of your full exam candidates. And that's designed to help you see that broader picture of student performance and to understand where there may be gaps, whether on the resource side or on the student understanding side, so that you can better prepare students for the exam. The main benefit that we saw used was the ability to live proctor your student exams. So as I mentioned, all the exams are done on the computer. We do not offer paper exams. If you opt not to become a partner, then your exams will need to use remote proctoring provided by Examity. So the students would need to make their own exam appointments. They would log on, and that would be done through the Examity software. For our exam partners, they're able to proctor their own exams, either in a computer lab or their classroom. And that provides not only monetary savings, but also some kind of logistical savings as well. So it just depends on your program need. It's nice to have both options depending on, of course, things like the pandemic or unexpected weather. So we do offer both options. However, live proctoring is only available to our partners. Our partners also receive a discount on our ALP mock exams. These are designed to be both a practice exam and a study tool. So those are tied to the study references for the exam, and any wrong answers will direct students back to the resource that the material was pulled from. They also receive a flashcard template for our basic manual terminology. So here are some educator resources as well as where to find them on our website. As I mentioned, the program handbook outlines those exam policies and topics, and then study resources, including the NALS basic manual for the legal professional. This has just been updated, so there is a 16th edition available. There has been a delay on the publisher side getting their online marketplace updated. If you are interested in purchasing the 16th edition, please contact me and I will connect you with a Thomson Reuters representative. Right now they are not available online, but that should be coming any day. That manual also includes student and instructor versions. So it provides activities and ways that students can practice and engage with the material beyond reading about a topic in a textbook. So some defining terminology, practicing writing legal documents, things like that. So now we'll dive into the meat of it, the application process. So this is the process to submit students for the exam. The students will not apply on their own. You or someone from your program will handle that for them. The reason that's important is, one, for payment, so that students aren't creating invoices that the school will pay. This streamlines the process significantly for both your program and ours. It also lets us know that these students have been approved to sit for the exam based on their completion of your coursework, either the class that they're currently in or in previous semesters. So it's really important that this application process is followed so that we have all the data that we need and are able to process your application promptly and not have any holdups along the way. So the first step is to prepare your candidate data template. This is an Excel file. It is available on the application itself, so you can download that in advance. It asks for basic student information. We just need their names, their email, their phone number, and we do ask for address so that we could mail them a certificate if they pass. If you're uncomfortable providing student mailing addresses, you can use a school. However, that we will use that then to mail their certificate. So just keep that in mind, especially for seniors. But email is extremely important. We must have unique student emails because that is what the event platform is going to use to tie their information to that student. So it's really important that we have a unique email for each student. So you'll go ahead and prepare that data of who is approved to test, identify any accommodations requests, and acquire that documentation. So we go into more detail in the ALP handbook, but we do provide accommodations as best we can, and you will need to gather that documentation in advance to provide on the application. So just be aware of that. Then you'll actually submit your online application. So once you have that roster, you'll go online and you'll submit your application. The application itself does not provide an invoice. I mentioned this because I know many of you need to work with quotes to obtain a purchase order. So you can go ahead and apply. You're not going to be asked for payment right then. You will be asked for a billing contact if it's someone besides yourself, so that we can get in touch with that person and make sure that they're getting what they need. So we ask for student information, proctor information if you're using live proctoring, and billing information so that we can get all that out of the way up front, make sure we're reaching out to the proper contacts, and then start scheduling your exam. The student rate for a full exam is $90. That is the partner rate, so that is live proctored exams. On the application, you'll have the option to select your proctoring method. So if you choose live proctoring and you're not a partner, then it is the expectation that you will become a partner. So we'll include that on your invoice, that $250. If you are using remote proctoring, there's a $45 per student proctoring fee. So that comes to $135 for remote proctored students. So that's where I was saying that partner incentive, that $250 would be the difference of about 5 student proctoring fees. So if you're testing more than 5 students and you would want to do it live, then that $250 would cover those 5 students. So anything beyond that, you would absolutely be saving money. Again, provide your billing contact information so that we can invoice you based on the options you selected above. Payment or purchase order is required before we will grant your exam access. This is to protect both you and us so that we have your information, we're ready to go. We understand it takes time for you to get that payment all the way through the proper channels, but NALS is billed based on the date that the students are authorized. So we're paying out upfront essentially. So we really need to have that purchase order or payment before your exam access is granted. I mentioned that because, again, I know it does take time. So you just need to build that into your application timeline. If you're starting if you're going to want to test in December, start thinking about that soon and look into the process to understand what it takes, because we just can't grant that access until we have a purchase order or payment. And that can be credit card, check, or ACH. The application deadline is the 15th of the month before you want to test, with the caveat that you must be paid by the time you get your exam access. So, for example, if you were wanting to test in October, you would need to get your application in today so that we have time to input all the students, make sure all the information is correct, and provide information to your proctor. So again, keep that in mind. We will remove exam months after the exam deadline. So if you went online to apply tomorrow, you'll see that October is no longer available, because it does take about 2 weeks to get everything in order. You'll be asked to choose an exam month on the application, but it will not get as detailed as down to the day. So in my follow-up to the proctor, whether that's you or someone else, that's one of the things we'll discuss is the exam dates that work for you. So on the application, you'll just choose a month, and we'll handle the actual details in follow-up. Exam access instructions are then provided to the proctor or instructor, and for online proctoring, instructors can choose their own windows. So again, that's something we'll work out in the follow-up, but you can decide how long students have to complete their exam, whether it's a period of a few days or whether it's up to 30 days, which is the maximum. So where can you find the online application? I included screenshots so that you can follow along, as well as the direct link. So on our website, nalp.org, and then so this is the graphic on the right. So follow the 1, you go to certification, follow the 2, go to Educator's Guide to the ALP, and then follow the 3, ALP Schools exam application. So I included that as well as the direct link. And then this is just a screenshot of what the application itself looks like. So those 2 links up above in red are the spreadsheet that I mentioned that you will need to provide your student data. So if you misplace that, can't find it, you can always go back to the application, download it again, and it will be there waiting. If you are planning to use both live and online proctoring, we've seen that a lot in the past couple of years for quarantine, virtual learning, etc. That is absolutely fine. If you're a partner and you have a few students that are doing remote learning and need to test using the online proctoring, that is possible. We ask that you submit separate applications. The reason being so that we know which students are approved for live testing and which are approved for online, because it's a different authorization process on our side. So we want to make sure the right students are receiving the right exam, and we ask for your help with that by submitting separate applications. So you'd submit one roster for your live proctored students and another roster and application for your remote proctored students. That way we're keeping everything straight, and we will send a combined invoice, including both sets of students, once we've processed your applications. Here's kind of a side-by-side of the differences between online and live proctoring. So I'd say the main differences are bullet point 2. So with online proctoring, students or someone within your program would need to help them schedule their own exam appointment within the exam window. So if we've given them a specific week to test, they're actually responsible for logging into their account and scheduling an appointment. If you're live proctoring, you still would need to make arrangements, of course, with the student schedules and testing center and all of that. But the testing system is set up with a password. So once I've given that to the proctor, they could administer the exam anytime during that window. The online proctoring, as I mentioned, uses Examity proctors to record that session through the student's camera and microphone to make sure that they're not authorizing any materials or receiving aid from anyone. For the live proctoring, that proctor is responsible for ensuring that a proper exam environment is maintained and that there are not any violations throughout the exam for the students. And in both cases, they're administered through the internet on a browser platform, and results will be provided to the instructor within 30 days. A few proctor frequently asked questions that we receive. Teachers are able to proctor their own exams. As long as your program or school does not have a policy against this, we do permit it. So again, you're agreeing not to provide aid or to violate any of the exam rules, but you are allowed to administer your own exams to your students. As far as the exam environment, it's probably what you would expect. No materials, no resources out and accessible, including technology of any kind, except for assistive technology. No eating, no drinking, no talking, no, kind of helping them keep to themselves, not looking around, seeing what others are reading or clicking on. I'd say pretty standard for a test. And we do provide specific requirements to the proctor so that they know what to look out for during the exam. The proctor usually receives exam access at least 3 business days before the exam window begins. So we want to make sure they have time to review the materials, get comfortable with the process, and have time to ask any questions of now staff before that window begins. So if that's you and you're more familiar with the program, we'll still send it. If it's someone new, we especially want to give them time to understand what their responsibilities are on the day of the exam. And then again, proctor responsibilities are helping the students launch the exam. So checking them in, making sure each student is registered for the exam. If they're your students, you will know who's who. If you're having a testing center administer exams, we would ask that they check school or government issue IDs just to make sure that the proper student is taking the test, since that does follow them with their credential. They help launch the exam by providing the exam URL, and then they provide a password, and then the student agrees to the non-disclosure conduct during the exam, and then the proctor provides another password that actually launches the exam. So their main responsibility is during that front part, just getting everyone checked in, getting their exams launched, getting them settled. And then, as I mentioned, just ensuring that the exam environment is secured throughout the exam, and answering any non-exam related questions, such as, if they had a question how the technology works or something like that, how much time they have left, something like that. And then at the conclusion of the exam, they are permitted to dismiss examinees. So we do not require them to sit in the exam room for 4 hours. If they finish early and it's not against school policy, then we permit them to leave. So if they finish their exam in 2 hours, they could be excused, close down their computer, submit their exam, and they could be dismissed. Scoring and results. So as I mentioned, scores are provided to the instructor within 30 days of the exam. Candidates must achieve that 70% or higher per part to pass. The notice of passing and the use information will be emailed, I should say student, I apologize, that will be emailed to the student. So once they have passed, that credential is theirs, and we want to celebrate with them and help them best showcase and utilize that credential. So whether that's showing it off on LinkedIn, helping them understand how to phrase it on their resume, we want to make sure that they are fully, celebrating and using that credential completely. So we will email the students with that information. And then candidates passing all those parts are certified as an accredited legal professional, and that designation is valid for 5 years. They do receive a mailed certificate in the mail, and they are listed on our certified professionals website directory. So if a prospective employer saw that ALP on their resume and wanted to confirm that they really had earned it, they can go to our website under certification and then certified professionals, and they can verify that that person has indeed passed the ALP. The retake process is fairly similar to the original application process. If the school is paying for that, we just need to make sure that we know, of course, which parts they are retaking. So if the school is paying, you'd basically follow that same process. And on the template, the student spreadsheet, you would just indicate which parts they are taking. And again, we'll calculate your exam fees based on the number of parts that they're taking for those retakes. If a student is paying for retakes, they should contact NALS for instructions. Since their eligibility was already verified by the school, they don't need to demonstrate that as an individual candidate typically would. So they can contact us for guidance on that. As I mentioned, fees are based on the number of parts that a student is taking plus their proctoring method. And all of that information is listed on their website. They have those 2 years to pass all exam parts. So when they pass a part, that's valid for 2 years. The idea being that they would complete all 3 parts within that 2-year time frame, if not sooner. There's currently no limit on the number of retakes. There's not a waiting period. So again, depending on your funding and your process, you might want to plan for a round of retakes or arrange for them to be able to do that in the next semester if you're testing at the end of the current semester. If an exam violation were to occur, such as a student reading from their book or receiving aid from a proctor or a student, they must wait 6 months before they can attempt the exam again. But that is very rare, so not common at all. All right, I know it's a lot of information. I've been talking quite a bit, so I would welcome any questions at this time. Of course, you're always welcome to email me as you're going through the process or think of things that you wish you would have asked today. But I'll just give you a few minutes here to drop some questions in the Q&A. While we're doing that, here are your next steps. So you've learned about the process, you've learned about the option to become an ALP partner. So your next steps would be to register to become an ALP partner. If you are interested in live proctoring, or if you're wanting to demonstrate that commitment to NALS and the ALP and showcase that with that logo on your website, become a partner and we can get that process started for you. Please review the ALP program handbook. You'll find that much of what we discussed today is outlined there in greater detail. It does include links, so it's designed to be kind of your go-to when you have questions about the ALP. That's a great place to start and see what you can find. And then please do contact me with any unanswered questions or things that you're not sure about. I'm happy to answer those questions. And then absolutely begin the application and fund request process early. This often takes a while, and it's always disappointing when there are delays in the office that end up delaying an exam. So we really want to make sure that you can test when you want your students to test, when they're ready to test, and not to be slowed down by administrative hoops. So make sure you're requesting what you need from us and that you're communicating what you need from your administration. I am happy to work directly with someone in the administration if that's easier, or a more direct line of communication. I'm happy to do that. I understand you have a lot on your plate, you're juggling a lot, and so if we can meet directly and I can help that exchange, I'm happy to do that. So those would be my tips. And again, I just really thank you for making the time today. I know it's difficult, but we really look forward to working with you this year, and we're excited to have another great year of the ALP partnership. All right, we do have a question. Is there a recommended prep time for the ALP? I can't necessarily put a specific number of hours on it because a lot of it does depend on the type of program that your students are in. So, for example, if you're an associate's program and these are your senior students, well, they're about at the end of their educational journey, so they've already had quite a few classes and they've been exposed to a lot of those terms and would be familiar with the material. My recommendation would be to look at the certification resource manual and kind of do a self-assessment of what do you cover in your course, and if you do know what has been covered in previous courses that they may have taken, to again help identify some of those gaps or things that are not covered, and then kind of build out your timeline from there. I hope that helps. All right. Well, again, if you do think of questions later or you're trying to find something and you can't, please feel free to email me, natalie@nals.org. I will send a follow-up email tomorrow with the link to this recording, the slides, some of the links to the resources that I mentioned, and of course, information about becoming an ALP partner. So again, I just really thank you for your time and your commitment to setting your students up for success and preparing them for this exciting step in their educational and hopefully legal support careers. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.